Belize, wake up Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is the show my people. Believe our hopes so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that we feel happen like I got blue skies. And nothing make people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play a role, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till time calling? It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in. WB. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Another day is here. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up Belize, wake up Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is the show my people. Believe our hope so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe.
Good morning and welcome to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes talk show here on XTV, simulcasting on From Radio. I'm Sister YaYa Marin Coleman sitting in for Brother Noor Mohammed this morning, Friday, January 17, 2025. Rise and shine, coming straight out of sweet Southside Belize City, 3304 Amandala Drive. Give thanks, we wake up. Well, the 1 hour we wake up because I know small we never wake up. And with the move. So give thanks for life. We have an opportunity for that together again until 9 o'clock this morning. You know how the order go? We have the weather forecast by the National Meteorological Service of Belize. And the forecaster is Tariq Matthews. And then we're going to the first news brief for the morning, prepared for us by the XTV newsroom under the leadership of Marcelo Maya. And then we're going to take one other break, open up the phone lines, community time, community reasoning. So straight to the weather forecast for today.
Good morning, Billy. Mostly dry conditions will prevail. The 24-hour forecast, mostly sunny skies today and clear to partly cloudy skies tonight. Little or no rain is expected. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 88 inland and 77 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 74 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 67 inland and 64 up in the hills. The winds will be light and variable and the sea conditions will be light chop. A low tide will occur this morning at 6:48, a high tide this afternoon at 12:36, another low tide this evening at 6:26, and another high tide just after midnight at 12:20. The sun will rise this morning at 6:26 and will set this evening at 5:39. The moon will set this morning at 9:08 and will rise tonight at 9:11. In the sargassum forecast, latest satellite imagery suggests that there is a slight increase in sargassum in the area. However, chances of sargassum affecting beaches and any potential impacts remains low. The outlook for Saturday and Saturday night is for similar weather conditions to prevail. For more details on our forecast products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents news, informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news. The first private radio in Belize since 1989, Creme FM presents the news, informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has proposed a regional summit on migration in the face of Donald Trump's announcement of looming mass deportations once he assumes the presidency of the United States. Other heads of government in Latin America made threats of their own. The one who stands out is Honduran President Xiomara Castro, who says if Trump sends back Hondurans en masse, they will expel the U.S. military in Honduras. However, until Trump is installed on January 20, questions remain as to just how he plans to carry out the mass deportations. Experts have pointed out that of the 500,000 or so immigrants expelled on average from the U.S. annually, the majority are apprehended trying to reach the U.S., not those already living there. In the case of Belize, Prime Minister John Briceño has not appeared to be overly concerned about a mass deportation of Belizeans. And this week, Foreign Minister Francis Fonseca said they're taking a, quote, wait and see, end quote, approach.
I don't think we have any accurate figure, so again, I don't want to get ahead of any of the new administration coming in the U.S. We will wait and see what policies they put into effect, and then we'll be able to respond accordingly in terms of our citizens.
In related news, while it would be difficult to ascertain how many people of Belizean descent are living in the United States, based on the latest estimate by the United States Census Bureau, some 63,801 people reported being of Belizean descent living across U.S. states and territories. That figure is roughly the population size of Belize City. California records the highest number of Belizeans, with an estimated population of 21,066, most residing in Los Angeles County. New York State follows with an estimated population of 9,375 Belizeans, most residing in New York City. Illinois comes next with an estimated Belizean population of 7,132, most residing in the Chicago area. Texas has an estimated population of 5,434 Belizeans, most residing near Houston. Florida reported an estimated population of 4,723 Belizeans, with most residing in South Florida. Other states with populations close to 1,000 Belizeans include Nevada, Louisiana, Georgia, Arizona, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Interesting to note is that there were more Belizeans reported to be living in the U.S. prior to the pandemic. The 2019 figures show that approximately 65,946 Belizeans were residing in the U.S. These figures may represent the total number of Belizeans with U.S. citizenship living in the U.S. versus a true count of all those of Belizean heritage residing there. As at 1 January 2025, the population estimate for the United States is 341 million. In the last 5 years, the Briceño administration had reported a time when they were seeing an increased migration, both legal and illegal, from citizens of some Caribbean and South American nations, including Jamaicans and Brazilians. However, Foreign Minister Francis Fonseca says that the migration has leveled off of late.
Earlier in 2024, we had seen a surge with some nationals coming from Haiti and Jamaica, and of course from Venezuela and some of these other countries. But really that has leveled off. So in the past few months we have not seen any significant upsurge in numbers, and based on the reports I've gotten from immigration, they have not seen anything significant. So it's always something we have to monitor very closely and carefully, and we have many partners who are involved in that in that effort to monitor this. But no, we think that has really leveled off since early 2024.
A report we received in December 2024 indicated that the military was readying to send off a platoon of soldiers to partake in the Haitian Multinational Security Service Mission, MSS, by this month. However, the latest update is that they will not depart in January. Here is Foreign Minister Francis Fonseca.
We got a briefing in Cabinet from the team, the Ministry of National Defense and Border Security team on this issue. So I think there are a few outstanding issues that have to be resolved in terms of ensuring that our soldiers are ready. They have been training, so I think around the end of the month they will do another assessment. Around the end of January they'll do another assessment of where they are, and then they will report back to Cabinet, and then we'll be able to make a more definitive decision about if and when they will be deployed.
Minister Moses Shine Barrow and members of the United Democratic Party executive have filed an application for the Alliance for Democracy members, led by Minister Tracy Panton and their agents or any person, including hot off the press, from emitting communication or making pronouncements regarding the case about the rightful leadership of the UDP or anything that would undermine Barrow's leadership. Included in the information on which Barrow seeks a gag order is any reference to separate UDP leaderships and headquarters. Importantly, Barrow is also asking the court for an order that no one be allowed to publish or reveal any witness statement, affidavits, or any exhibits and information from the case until the trial concludes. Additionally, in the application dated January 15th, Barrow is calling off the option of mediation. Meanwhile, we previously reported in his last order on December 23rd, High Court Justice Tawanda Hondora made no orders in relation to the application for Panton to be held in contempt of court, and the application remains to be heard. Barrow has since had his attorney write the registrar of the court asking that the contempt application be heard at the same time as this latest application for additional orders. And that brings us to the end of this morning's news brief. You could listen to the morning stew immediately after the show at 9 o'clock this morning, and get more news update. And then on Creme Radio, there's a full news package at 12:30, news brief at 3:15, and a full news package at 5:15. And here at XTV, there's a full news package at 6 o'clock. And you could engage that on a local radio station, local TV station, or on YouTube, XTV Belize, or on Facebook page, XTV Belize. We're going to take one quick break. When we come back, that's full time.
The first private radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
back to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for this Friday morning. I know if that Friday, what that mean, right? It's paper day. A Mandela newspaper is out, $1.50. Headline said George Price honored on his birthday. Shine wants gag order on leadership case. David Hodge is charged in for Belize. Belize City hosts Public Investment Forum 2025. So go get to know a Mandela newspaper, or you can subscribe online and get to know Mandela. As long as you support, we don't usually do that. All we ask. The phone number is 280-5848. 280-5848. I have a guest at 7:30 this morning, so I'm gonna call in and calm down. I could hear myself to talk hard. I'm done excited already. A lot of things to talk about, but I'm going over the usual. What are the usual for me right now? The number to call if you suspect price gouging is 607-4686. 607-4686 if you suspect price gouging. Belize Diabetes Association have one app on a Facebook page where they encourage Belizeans to get moving. So new Gregorian year, a bunch of we set different goals. One often is to get fit, to get healthier. And so they encourage Belizeans to make 10,000 to 12,000 steps a day, which is about 5 to 6 miles. Starting January 2nd to April 16th, which is a Holy Thursday, they encourage you to get moving. And I'd encourage Belizeans, everybody I meet that they tell me, just start moving. And a lot of we move anyways, and we just might not count with steps, but it's and I like that now community initiative. Over 300 Belizeans. Well, they have more than that registered, but not everybody got numbers up. Not everybody put in the work. But I really encourage Belizeans, and I want to say that important, because this is not something I see Belizeans do. I always walk. I feel like people were raised in the 70s, they're just natural walkers. We had our puppy foot mass, so we always about the place to walk. Big respect to our mom, who is now an ancestress, Jean Marin, from Davis Bank. Morning, Davis Bank people. And so one is to stretch before you start to walk. Get some good stretches in. And I mean every part of your body you stretch, including eye roll, neck roll, shoulder roll, finger roll, everything, your wrists, your waist, your knees, your ankle, your instep, your toes, your lower back, stretch good. Then you start your walk. And while you walk, you could do some stretches while you walk. You could put your hand out and do your 25 right, front way, 25 back way. And then when you come back, likewise, you need to cool down. So stretching is critical before and after walking. Secondly, stay hydrated. I can't tell you enough. Now, the best water that we get from fruits. That's the best water. Second best would be coconut water. And third place, one of the Belizeans drink bottled water in the plastic bottle. We're not good for the water dead, really. But we drink it now. So, but important that we stay hydrated. That is so critical. But encourage Belizeans to go to the Belize Diabetes Association Facebook page and join the Million Steps Challenge. I think the app is called Step Up, if I'm not mistaken. And then, last but not least, tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 o'clock, right here on XTV, WUB Educational Foundation, which is a community-based organization with the focus on the liberation of African descendants racialized as Black people in Belize and the diaspora. Thanks, Master Chief Operator Alexi Bilal. For those who are live streaming or watching local television, I want to say the ad for tomorrow's it's the first UEF and Belize Federation of Fishers, BFF, who represent over 3,000 fishers in the whole country. It's our first monthly Zoom community meeting for our Belize Blue Bond Awareness Campaign, encouraging Belizeans to join from 10 to 11. We don't know really do hurt you. It does. And there is no way that this deal should have been signed in a we name we won't have to pay it back, and we never know the details of it. Wrong. That is not a democratic process. It is not. The blame should be on elected government officials, cabinet members, House of Representatives, Senate, that they make the final decisions. So one of UEF's strong points is we keep consistently advocating for knowledge sharing, genuine people participation in matters that impact for we lives, where we have one interest in. The general thought is usually the more knowledge people have, you put them in a stronger position for make better choices for the individual self and for the extended family members. And that means holding for we self accountable and holding people in a leadership accountable. I'm going to listen to this Instagram thing this morning, and Lee's sister say, you know, the system, I'm an African sister, so the system never designed for we. And when I say we, I mean non-European people. And so, because it never designed for we, right? Everything what we most away in the world, what we know about for ourselves, the way other people tell we about we. Our concept of a creator, we value as people, and remember for African descendants in particular, they never value we as people. They may think we that chattel or like property, never recognize we as human beings, and then use the Bible for enslavement. So we don't know for ourselves. And that's one of the things where I keep saying to especially young Belizeans who are going for colonial papers known as degrees or some type of certification. If you don't have one desire for know authentically who you, the problems with to deal with. Because they're just colonial, enslaved people with to deal with. And if you don't know who you, how can you be of use to anybody? Because you have to live what you to say consistently. Like you have to know who you. And when you come from generations of people who don't know themselves, it's just more comfortable for the most part to stay there, you know. Some other people, because of lived experiences, being out in nature, listening to music, maybe have a near-death experience, there's something that would trigger somebody to say, this life is a way to live, not a work for me. I gone to school, or I gone at work, this 9-to-5 business, money not enough, not living in an adequate houses or homes, or even if I do, I amass all this material wealth, but inside I just feel empty. And I feel connected. I might pick up one vice, maybe I might drink or shop or sex or party or I don't know, whatever your vice might be. But not feeling fully. I guess if you've never felt it, you know, I know what I feel like, but you definitely know what I feel like I just, like, this a life? This a all I make for? Remember now the phone number is 280-5848, 280-5848, you know, call in. We have a guest at 7:30. So you ask yourself, is like, is there more? And one of the things we good for, and again, I feel that it's because of the system we inherited, and we the people never hold political leadership accountable for change the system. And so we just, that is same system of enslavement, when now designed for we, like this Westminster system, never designed for we. So when you have one head of state, who are the governor general, who represent the colonizer, that's how you know this never make for we. We are not having democratic experiences. So for the state, sign one agreement worth millions of US dollars, for example, and it's just a blue bond. We don't even talk about a bag of money. And we don't know the details of it, and then we don't even care for know the details of it, because like, well, what do we do? It don't happen already. That right there, so the moment that your mindset, that one indication of how deep mentally enslaved you are. The moment you lose hope for things that I, as an individual, I can do nothing about it, and that we often tell with children, we're Africans, we're not Africans. So that for you, ask yourself, why have the mindset that I feel that I, as a person, not able to change some of the wrong things that happened, I believe. And that's why I keep giving out the number 6074687. There are things you can do, even if they're small. Very important that you're consistent with whatever it is that you're doing. For make, like this that the beliefs that we want for the rest of our life. My sister Sandra Cowie called yesterday, and as usual made some very good points, and other people did as well. But she known for carry the conversation in the areas that we don't even think about. And then if you live long enough, you're like, shucks, that you were me to say, you know, but you don't too late by then because you don't want me to pay attention. And so I encourage Belizeans to attend tomorrow's Zoom meeting it'll be broadcasted on XTV, but it's a Zoom meeting, so there's a meeting ID and passcode. Morning, thank you for calling so I could stop preach. Talk to me. Wait. Morning. Talk up another here, good. Morning, you talk soft though. Yes, tell me.
Listen to your topic again, Sister YaYa.
Hi, brother, what you say?
I'm listening to this morning introduction of your topic. And it moved me for call again.
Well, that's a good thing. Talk to me.
Yeah, you had to talk about how we have lost our connection to who we are, our identity. And for the last few weeks, I've been pondering over something. You see, in our society, oftentimes, and I would dare say majority of the time, whenever there is any regional, global, national, local effort at equipping humanity with developmental skills, I hope you'll agree, it seems as if though it's always catered towards women and children, or specifically single mothers, single parent mothers. Whether it's houses, educational programs, grants, trainings, etc. So to me, and I can be wrong, but I hope you give me a couple minutes to establish why I feel this way. I believe there's a system in place which continues, and I'll emphasize, continues to systematically disregard the effort of the male, the role of the male in the society, but more specifically in the black community. Now, my thing is, historically, YaYa, and you're someone who has oftentimes demonstrated that you're well-read, apart from the resources you can lean on every so often, human resources. When the enslavement of our people started, one of the first things they did was to break up the African family. In fact, history will record that there are instances where the mother was taken to Jamaica, the father of the male of the household was brought all the way over to British Guyana or Belize. Children were placed with a whole different group of people known as the picnic gang, the elders, sometimes on another plantation on the same island, or sometimes in a whole different community. So the first thing they did to destroy the African heritage or history or connectivity to one another and our land was to destroy the family. In occasions where a family was, and I'll use the term loosely, lucky or fortunate to have been placed together on the same island, or God forbids, even on the same plantation, even in such situations, they were separated in terms of working gang, picnic gang, and domestics. For all intents and purposes, it would seem, in terms of the literature available from European, African, and Caribbean writings, that most often time it were the females who were placed in the domestic role, were taken into the great house, were given a more comfortable, and I use that term loosely again, because nothing about slavery was pretty or comfortable, but I'll use that word, comfortable setting in the house, in the basement or wherever where they could sleep, serve their masters quickly, They were dressed to be more culturally acceptable in the household, etc. They were given better meals, despite it being the scraps from the master's table. And even in terms of education, and I use the term again loosely because there's this presumption that Africans were, well, not presumption, there's the documentation that the Africans needed to be educated. And I hold strong to the fact that many of them were highly educated. What we're not knowledgeable about was the European way of life or their languages. So they said they had to educate us, and one of the tools they used was, like you mentioned earlier, one of the things they used to hold us to slavery was the Bible, religion. And the very first set of people who had access to such training, such education, were females. The domestics were in the household. Despite it was not the whole Bible, because again, documentations prove that there was a specific type of Bible with books removed that was called the slave Bible that was given to them, but it was given so they can equip themselves with the teachings of Christianity. Those were the first set of people, also many of them who were violated, and some through passive resistance, etc., who to some degree allowed, and I use that term again loosely, for the creation of that intermingling, the cruel society where the Europeans were forcing themselves onto our culture. Because many of them had these high white, quote-unquote, high white-looking children, and many of the masters feel ashamed of having their heirs without anything. Towards the end of abolition and then ultimately emancipation, some of the very first people who were equipped with property or property rights or the opportunities to buy themselves out of freedom because of the fact, or by virtue of the fact that they, in many instances, had children for their masters, and the masters didn't want their children to be treated like an average, like any other chattel, any other African. The very first set of people who had some freedom, I use that term loosely again, were women. So it troubles me oftentimes when they talk about, oh, the women are left behind, and the women, and women have to catch up to the men. And I, from a historic perspective, say that the only men that all women had no equal rights to were the white men, specifically the rich white men. Because the black man, historically, throughout the days of slavery, throughout colonialism, and I would dare venture to say even now, have always been at a disadvantage to the white man, to anyone lighter than the black man, and even to our females. I will listen to hear what your take on that is. Yeah.
Valid points. Valid points. Indeed, it has been documented about the intentional destruction of the African racialized as black people families. The destruction of a nation starts in the household. So, I mean, you make valid points.
So my sister, my thing is, you know, oftentimes we hear this whole statement, man the dog, and women have to be brought to a level where they are more equal to men. And it troubles me because I'm recognizing at the continuous effort in this small country of trying to make women, quote unquote, equal to men. It's actually creating a gross disparity in the economics and even in the household, where women now have taken on many of the leadership roles in terms of even positioning themselves economically, etc., because of the advantages. If you were to do a study, and respect again to your effort about the here issue with the Ministry of Education, YaYa, but if you were to do a more in-depth study on something else, the disparity between scholarships given over the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I am almost certain it's 7 or 8 to 1 in terms of female to male, and it's not because there's so many more girls coming out of high school. If you look at the university level, the tertiary institution level, sixth form, etc., the same thing can be viewed. If you walk around the business establishments, Orange Street, Queen Street, Albert Street, King Street, whether it's dry goods stores, supermarket, banks, whatever, I am sure you will see a predominance of females. So in pretty much every capacity, even while there's this point oftentimes made at Parliament that there are less females, if you look at the CEOs. And I oftentimes tell people that ministers are there, but oftentimes, for example, the lands debacle, the hotbed of corruption, the evidence oftentimes indicate that it is from among the public servants where certain things get created. And at those levels, in the offices, many of them are females are equally. So it bothers me when every time, it's just this new program for females, and it's because the women are behind. And show me, I need someone to show me physically, show me the hardcore data where in our beliefs, women, females, are at a disadvantage in terms of being accepted into primary school, secondary school, tertiary institution, in terms of getting employment, in terms of getting grants training, in terms of getting scholarships. I need to see it. But we continue to say we need to push the woman, and every time we say, okay, 2 more female to 1 male because they are behind, it is creating a greater disparity in terms of the numbers of men, males, specifically black males, who have any meaningful opportunities or roles in our society, I believe. But again, like I oftentimes say, I could be wrong.
Over the years in the Mandela newspapers, different writers, contributors, columnists, editors from the publisher has shared that position over and over again with evidence. I mean, and just changed I think it used to be called the Department of maybe Women and Children, but now it's being called the Department of Family Affairs and Gender.
Yeah. With an emphasis, however, if you look at their thematic expressions and if you look at their intentions, the program, while it has been renamed, structurally, it still functions for women and children.
As a matter of fact, I know a young father who I've been supporting him as he struggles to find justice for his young boy child. And I mean this someone well-informed father, courageous, learn the system, to get the support. And that for him, after the over and air now, he come to the conclusion that, and this are not my words, these are for his words. I bet you that may a woman, this may happen to them because that's how he really feel. But because of the support of other people in the community, such as an attorney, which one other working class people wouldn't have access to, he finally felt heard after a year when he went to court this week. Just think about how much fathers, I mean, and so I just said the point here to make, brother, a valid point. I get no pushback from me on it.
Appreciate your sister.
Respect, brother. One love.
One love.
Appreciate the call. The phone lines is open, 280-5848. I hope Brother Nigel calling at 7:30. We're going to break. And it'll be 2 cents come time. And the sponsor is Fort Point Security. So, I encourage Belizeans 10 to 11 tomorrow for joining the Zoom meeting. So, if anybody know what that the blue bond, call and tell me. If anybody know why we get the blue bond, call and tell me. If anybody know who are the people will put up their money, invest into the blue bond, please call and tell me. If anybody could tell me how much money the investors then put up, call and tell me. If anybody could tell me how much money the investors want to make over the life of the blue bond, please call and tell me. If anybody could tell me if TNC they make any profit after this blue bond, please call and tell me. So this is a community conversation. We not to say that we know everything. We the share what we learn, and I have to give thanks to our partners out of the University of Antwerp in particular, Like I said, we had 209 on the ground in July. And the youth there at the legal clinic where did the research on Belize as it relates to the blue bond, and I asked them for look specifically on black people, and I really appreciated their efforts. So it was a community effort, well, local, at home and abroad. And so the conversation we have, that's evidence-based conversation. One of the lead researchers that we work with also study the blue bond at the Seychelles. And so where he looked upon is to see the impact on communities when you have their kind of financial instruments for debt for nature swap. Now, the blue bond are not the first debt for nature swap release though. Morning, thanks for call. Talk to me.
Hello.
Morning, talk to me.
Yeah, man. The blue bond are a big sellout, man. And the first time I heard about the blue bond, I called in and I said the sellout to the waterways and all of the watershed area. Or sellouts. And I don't know nature for swap now.
Why you say that?
You don't trade money for land, water, you just sell out. That's how we do. You know, I no control over 30% of your waterways, the watershed area, certain land area. That's why from the beginning I call the show and I tell people that. I don't feel the impact. Whether the boats were the blue bond or something good and other countries they do it, I don't care who they do it. You have to sell out your waterway, your marine product, everything. You know, that's no control. By the time you collect money and say, oh yeah, you lose control. And that's how it got with me.
How you come to that awareness? How you come to that conclusion?
You get money. By the time you get, what you think people get money for? Nothing.
Well, that two things happen, right? Belize had on debt and we had pay. We got bad name out the road for pay back money where we borrow from. So the people then say, we are lend you the money for pay off the debt, right? And now good, the terms will be better than where Super Bond had. And then would it help you protect your marine areas? How that bad?
Protect marine to who?
Well, let's say that for Belize and Belizeans.
That's how we are protected from today, not for we. Not for we. That any time you get money, anything, anytime person say, oh yeah, and you give me this, that's sell out. Look here how you want to put it, look here how you want to place it, look here how fancy you want to look, I tell you. So these people got tricks in their area, where they use. They say all of them, they say life, and that's how we do. We sell out for we rights. And that's something all over the world. And I always tell people this, 8 billion people in the world, less than 1% of the world population, they control 8 billion people. And that's our problem in our life. That's the way we do. We give all the rights to their criminals. That's the way we do. We surrender the rights. And that's the way they catch you in all in cases. They call it fancy words, they all in ministers, and then a lot of liars, you know, saying involved in our idea, trick you. They benefit, you know. They benefit plenty out of that thing.
You know, one of the things...
The system do the channel and business through the liar firm. And they come up big. And we are take the lick. The fisher folks, all of them, we are take the lick. And I won't trick. We get tricked all the time. But I don't want to deal with that too much. Just like when I look for another water under the bridge, we don't take lick them, but we don't trick it. I explained today I'll be a disaster, and down the road I get worse and worse. Because there are people that play throughout the world. You know what the problem will be next 5, 10 years? Water. So these groups, the water that they try to protect, because water they get scarce. And here in the Caribbean, we got abundant, pure water. And this is how many people they go for and secure for themselves, not for we. One thing I want to look for the young lady. He got a mental breakdown, I guess, no? I see her walk from town, he have so attire like carnival. This young lady need help. You got the Ministry of Health. I guess they got mental, they got a section to people with mental problems. I wish they would have looked into it. The next section, I think that is the lowest control, no? The woman or children or whatever. They have to look after this young lady, yeah, before something happens.
Brother, you know that one of the weakness, I mean, again...
And I don't like to see it. You see, for a young person like that, having that potential, when need help, you know, wait till something happens to her, say, oh, boy, from a help that young lady. So I ask the Ministry of Health and the Mental Health section to try to get involved and see the young lady family or whatever the situation and try to help her. Because when people are in the laugh at all, I don't play that when people have mental issues. Because I come from a family where a lot of my family members have mental issues. And it's very challenging. So I don't play that. Anytime the people in mental health issue, I try to talk to them, I try to assist them in any way I could. Because mental breakdown will happen to any of us at any time. And you got people in a high places in the office with a mental issue. So I don't know if you see the young lady won't come to walk here.
Well, they said to your brother, is this that one systemic issue? The state, no, I like to say it okay, because this has been ongoing. People have died. They don't have the human capacity. They don't have the institution for house them. This has been ongoing, and every life really do matter. But this is just one of the areas where the state show that they're not key. And so this is the part the blue bond come in. Because the purpose, why swap out one creditor or debtor for another? Because that's all happen with the blue bond. We got for different people, we owe super bond people, now we owe blue bond people. You won't get to a place where your debt sustainable. Because what happened was a lot of that money ought to be going for social services, like healthcare, the people that with mental illness, but that not happen. The debt they grow. There's a greater chance Belize will default upon this loan again, because that has been the history, because this no work. The first time Belize had a debt for nature swap, what I mean, green bond, it never worked. So here they come with the blue bond again, but this is why the community conversation important. Yes, the bond done sign, but the more knowledge we have about something like a bond, in the future, that is saying, they're not changed, that is saying neo-colonization, just that now, like what you just done, Sabrina, not in the colonized nature, with for we leaders' complicity. So I hear you, it's sad for some people with mental health issues, and more we have it than not have it, just that one lot of we mask it. And like people have pointed out recently, in 2024, you have to see younger people with mental health on the streets. Like life real. One lot of people not able to cope anymore. So when you call, I mean, I have so, but I had to tell you, one of the people in like Sister Haiti, like just heartbreaking situation with Sister Haiti. Well-known sister living with mental illness, and her journey until she transitioned was tough. Her daughter did an outstanding job advocating for her mother. But that was one of the last cases where I was deeply involved in her, and this is with family support. Some of them don't have the family support. So, brother, I don't know, I'm not hopeful, as sad per se, but I'm not hopeful for what I could do for the lead sister.
Well, sister, already trying to make it, you know, and they put it out there.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people see this young lady, and I know that she was, like you said, a lot of younger people have mental issues. So, that it becomes like a chronic disease in our country. So we have to work on it now, because it gets worse. And I already heard the thing good out there, things don't go out there. This is why a lot of people are under pressure. All over, things don't go. You go to the minister and their family are there. You know, to their household, everything good. But out there, I don't know, Joe.
And then think about this, brother. Think about this. You see, the news that they make that Trump threatened for the port to a lot of people. And for we minister responsible, make we wait and see what happen. Imagine that. No, talking about mental illness, talking about people coming back home, not prepared, families not prepared for them, the state not prepared for them.
But they don't care, like you said, they don't care. They don't care. If their family is secure, they don't care about nothing.
They don't care.
They don't care about nothing. They have to serve themselves. They don't worry about we. So that we have to advocate for we. That's why I say, this young lady, because the regular here is missing. Because the way they dress out there, thing and all, you know, so a man out there, the regular here, this young lady missing now, boy, and the Jedi young lady run down there, try to do society, put it out there now.
Thanks, brother.
This young lady need help. Try to get in contact with the family members, see what are the situation, and try to get her off the street and give her the help she deserves.
Now, leave black sister.
She deserves. I don't know if you see the sister around here, dress up like Carnival, they have on some. And when it pass, people laugh, I think I don't take them for joke. I tell her straight up.
I don't think I see she lately.
Mental health issue for joke. So I don't advocate to get help.
Thanks, brother.
Help. Please.
Thanks, brother.
The authority, especially the Ministry of Health, please help this young lady. I don't know her personally, but I know he need help. I mean, and anything I want to show you, the cry out for help. The cry out for help. So please, give her the help she deserves.
Big thanks for the call.
God bless.
One love. Caller, thanks for calling. I have 4 minutes to break time. Go ahead.
Hey, morning, YaYa.
Hi, brother.
Nigel.
Talk to Nigel. 4 minutes.
Yeah, morning. So I just want to remind the general public, as well as our fisher folks and fishing community, of our community Zoom meeting tomorrow morning. It's very important for them to participate and to engage so that we can get a clear understanding as to why we are where we are. I mean, the Blue Bond is a crisis. The debt that Belize has is a crisis. And the answer to all these questions will be shared tomorrow, and people can formulate their own opinion. There is no reason why we should have mortgaged our seas. Just simply no reason. There's no words that would sustain that. We have been getting conservation over decades. So there is no reason why we should have been in this position. None, absolutely none, and they cannot convince me as to why we are in this position.
Nigel, people ask why we have this and the thing don't sign already. Don't have more. I don't want to talk about this now.
Well, this will impact years to come the livelihood of our fisher folks, the livelihood of our communities, the livelihood of this nation. We depend on our seas to feed our people for food and security. And if we do not talk about it and understand why this has a great impact, we're going to be in major trouble. As I mentioned to you, we have been getting hundreds of millions of dollars for conservation over decades. So there was no reason why we are or why we should be in this position right now. So we have to talk about it.
So when you say we have been getting money, you mean grant and donor money, no loan?
Yes, man, we have been getting hundreds of millions of dollars in donor funds, in grant funding to do conservation in this country. There is no reason why we should have had to go and mortgage our seas.
But Nigel, there are two things that happen. They swapped the debt, so they're not just the conservation. The blue bond, the super bond debt gone. So then they help you out. They will get a better term for the money where we're going to borrow. And then the bonus is you know the need for conserve on an ocean, on a coast, on a coral reef, or on a mangrove. So they give you want to tap up. we are put on conservation fund out there that we want to complain about, Nigel.
Well, listen, I understand all of that. But the IMF stated that our debt is unsustainable. Why is it unsustainable? It's unsustainable because we have a system of not wanting to pay back our debts. So it no matter if they want blue bond, want super bond, want era bond, the point is we do not like to pay our debts.
All right, I have to go.
Continue.
I have to go, Nigel.
All right.
That's 7:30, but that's one good point for end. We have one track record and not paying our debts. And that's the way it means when I said the debt is unsustainable. Nigel Martinez is the director of Belize Federation of Fishers. Nigel, how much fishers do you represent?
We represent, as you mentioned, we represent the entire fisher folk. We speak on behalf of the livelihood and well-being of the fisher folks of this country.
Oh, you have one number or no?
We have a number. We're currently doing an assessment to know the true total of fishers that are really into sustainable, because we have divided the fishing sector into three categories: those who fish sustainable, those who are opportunists, and those who are outright pirates.
Okay, no problem. So Nigel Martinez, the director of Belize Federation of Fishers, who's on the air now, will be the first guest for a monthly UEF and BFF Belize Blue Bond Zoom community conversations. It'll be 1 hour. In the first half hour, me and Nigel are reason. In the last half hour, everybody is up on a Zoom could give them 2 cents. Thanks for calling in, Nigel. Sarah Manning. Guidance. And we go to break. It's 2 cents come time, sponsored by Port Point Security.
Big up Friday. Who you want to big up?
Big up everybody in court today. Big up everybody back at Westland Diva, my whole family, the Kanaki family, everybody.
How do you treat you?
Nobody can complain.
Like,
I got life.
now you're 2 cents.
That's right.
Big up all the people at the High Court, especially Lisa, Shanique, Edna, my supervisor, Miss Hall.
Big up Brick City, big up the Supreme Court, the High Court, big up everybody, big up Belize. Happy New Year, Belize.
All right.
I big up everybody in Belize right now. Don't know that 5-star Jenna. Big up the whole country, everybody. Mad love, mad respect. Driver Don't Stop at all are the original name. But the name changed to 5-star Jenna with the new album, Railroad the Thing.
Now you're 2 cents. Is that your 2 cents?
Yeah, that's my 2 cents. My 2 cents for the day that this. I know a Belizean artist called 5-Star General. Check my music, it's playing at every country around the world. Worldwide right now. Literally, London, Canada, France, Germany, you name it, the music they play out there. If you think I lie, then you go check my Facebook, Aaron Laureano. See where they go on. That is it.
Who you want to big up producer?
I big up my wife Ashanti.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm bigging up me. Driver.
That is it.
That's it.
Then I want to pick up the police officers there. Hard-working officers, right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and I want to pick up the Almighty also,
Yeah,
right?
you're 2 cents.
And no respect to Ono, also in Martin's, right?
All
I
right.
understand, we wait for the, what's his name? The big day when all this got Martin's Day, right? Martin's Fest, right?
That is it.
Yes, man.
All right. Big up somebody, you're done there.
Step up.
Who you want to big up?
What I want to say?
No, who you want big up?
Who I want to big up? I want to big up myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Big up myself.
Tired of replacing light bulbs?
Welcome back to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for this morning, Friday, January 17, 2025. That my sister, Shari Chaplin, a.k.a. Afeni Earth Strong today. So anyway, want to say, holla tell her happy Earth Day. Happy birthday, Afenita. Anyways, we have our guest. And I'm so excited to introduce this sister to the listeners, viewers, those streaming online. She's been on Sunday Review before. Sister from the Caribbean. She's a Trini. Good morning, Sister Nicole Rochelle Moore. Hey, Sister, good to see you.
Grand Rising, Sister YaYa. How are you doing?
I am better now seeing you. How are you?
And Grand Rising, Belize. Yeah.
The weather is good. Sis Nicole is a writer, educator, and curator of Caribbean collections at the British Library. That's why I bring her. We only have about half an hour so we could find out exactly what she do at the British Library as a curator. But I met Sister Nicole last year when I went to the UK.
Even a year before. I think it was a year before now.
What
was it 2023?
Yeah, the year before. You're right. 2023.
Yeah.
Sister Esther got married, and I went to New Beacon Books, and she was working at New Beacon Books. So if you could tell me, I'll leave it about New Beacon Books so people can know how I meet you, and then we will segue into more about you.
So New Beacon Books is, and actually when I'm there, I'm just, it doesn't necessarily feel like work at New Beacon. I've been a part of New Beacon Books for a long time, but New Beacon Books is UK's first Black-owned publishing house and bookshop. Black-owned publishing house and bookshop, and it was started by a Trinbagonian man called John LaRose, who had this idea from a long time ago, and together with his second life partner Sarah White, New Beacon Books came into being. So there's a lot of history, and if people, as my children say to me, just Google it, Mom. If people go online, they can find out a lot about New Beacon Books. But it is and has always been more than just a bookshop.
That's what I like about it, more than a bookshop. So now,
yeah, always.
You're a writer, educator, and curator. What all of that mean? How you got time for all of that?
Well, I've always been writing. I've been writing since I was a small child, but was never really brave about the writing in terms of showing my writing to people. I mean, in school it's a different thing. And so only 2 years ago, November in 2023, my first publication came out. So yeah, so now I kind of, for all the times, but before that I used to write. I wrote for magazine, for one particular magazine, Soca News. I would write for other people. It's so funny. People would always ask me to write this, that, and the other for them. So that's one thing. I mean, and the writing goes on, it just kind of goes on. It's always been. And most recently, as a very beautiful way to end one of the beautiful ways to end 2024, which was itself a challenging year, I found out that I was awarded, along with 5 other writers, a 2-week writing retreat coming up later in May. So it will be 2 weeks of not having to think about anything apart from writing and reading and talking with other writers.
Where are you going for the retreat?
So to a villa. I know it sounds amazing. It's to a villa in Italy, believe it or not. So there you go.
Hey, that sounds like heaven and earth.
It's pretty much a dream come true. Not necessarily the going to Italy part, but just having that time to just kind of do nothing except think about writing, read, talk to other writers if you want. You don't have to kind of, kind of socialize. So it's going to be great. And everybody's kind of, taking stuff that they're working on. And yeah, so it's going to be,
Good.
Fruitful.
You're also an educator.
Yes. I mean, answering this question, I'm smiling now because I trained as a teacher like it feels like millions of years ago. And I didn't stay long in sort of mainstream teaching. And actually more recently as last week, I started teaching again, but at a supplementary school. at a wonderful supplementary school that's been going for maybe about 16 or 17 years called Upward Bound. So I'm actually teaching English, but I trained to be an English teacher. But I've always kind of preferred educating, and I think of it as learning and sharing. I'm always learning, even if I go into a classroom to deliver an assembly, and that's the kind of thing I've been doing over many years since leaving sort of mainstream teaching. I've done that kind of consultative work and that kind of consultative learning where people ask me to come in and give an assembly about, usually I say to them, I'm always going to be coming from an African and or Caribbean aesthetic or diaspora aesthetic. So yeah, so it's but also with grown-ups. I mean, I've done workshops for grown folk as well, actually teachers from an international school and so on. So I have a little platform called Education Through Culture. It's just an Instagram platform. People can get in touch if they like.
So you live in the UK. What is a supplementary school?
So supplementary schools started like in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s. And in fact, John LaRose, whom I just mentioned, as a kind of founder of New Beacon Books, John LaRose had one of the early supplementary schools called the George Padmore Supplementary School. So supplementary schools came about because back in the late 60s, 70s, parents, especially parents of Caribbean parents, especially, and I'm sure some continental African parents and perhaps Asian parents were noticing that their children were not getting as rounded an education as they would have wanted them to. And also from John's perspective, John has, before he passed, he would speak about the fact that children coming out of Caribbean homes would almost be ashamed of the word Africa and be ashamed to be associated with anything African. And so the George Padmore Supplementary School came into being. And so while they were learning, math and of course the kind of English and science, they were learning those kind of disciplines. They were working through those disciplines from perspectives coming out of the Caribbean or perspectives coming out of the continent of Africa, in terms of history and all of that. And so, yeah, supplementary schools, a lot of them have there was a time when a lot of them kind of fell. There was a kind of birth of supplementary schools, but in recent years, there's been a bit of a renaissance. So it's just to kind of get a kind of extra sort of grounding. I mean, the supplementary school that I have just started working with, they kind of stick to the curriculum, but I was really pleased that last week I was teaching a lesson on these children for exams in a year and a bit. And the on-scene poetry piece that we did was by Grace Nichols from Guyana. Grace Nichols, it was great. So yeah, supplementary.
These classes are usually on weekends or during the week?
So this is now going to be on a Saturday morning, so I need to get down there. I mean, I am by nature not a morning person. I'm telling you all right now, Wake Up Belize is great for me because it's 1:30 plus in the afternoon here. But having children has always meant that you're just up. But yes, so it's going to be on a Saturday morning. So from about 9:25, I've got to be there, and certainly by about 1:45, I would be finished teaching. Start teaching at about 10:10, and I will be teaching 2 classes.
I know my good troublemaker brother Gush John was instrumental in supplemental schools as well. He's our guest on Sunday Review this week.
Yes, exactly. Gus would have been, I mean, he can give a whole, he really can give a fulsome history of supplementary schools. I mean, I did volunteer at a supplementary school some years ago when my younger son was still in primary school, and I put him into this supplementary school, and, because he was coming up to what they call SATs here to get into, to start secondary school. And so I volunteered at that one, and that was a really wonderful supplementary school, which has been going for over 45 years, a supplementary school called the Lemuel Findlay Supplementary School. So, some of them have lasted and have come to see that the need is still there. Yeah.
I definitely see it as a need. And you have other communities like Jewish communities it's a way to ensure that their children learn and retain
Mm-hmm.
their values,
Exactly.
culture, and
Yeah.
history.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Really, really important.
how you get the
Really.
tougher job to be the curator of Caribbean collections at the British Library? I'm so proud of you, sister.
Listen to me, sis. Thank you so much. I always say to people, well, you know, when we talking, listen, you know, like I joked with my older son the other day. I said, you know, the title is bigger than than the bread. The title is bigger than the bread, but it's a wonderful role. It was a really great opportunity. This vacancy came up at the British Library. I didn't even know about it. A couple of friends kind of pointed it my way, and I wasn't quite prepared to go for it. Initially, I had become so accustomed, I think, to working part-time and freelance, even though that comes with its own, oh gosh, it comes with its own drawbacks, of course, as well as coming with, you know, a great degree of flexibility. And then one friend in particular, and I will call her name. Her name is Joanna Brown, and she literally, like I've told this story so many times. Joanna literally cried when I said, I don't think I'm going to go for this. I don't think, and you know, applications really kind of freaked me out. And she literally cried and she said, "This is your job."
You need, see, those are the kind of friends you need in your close circle who believe in you and encourage you.
It's really important. It's really important because we do have those times when we can. There's a little bit of doubt. In my case, applications have always made me very nervous. And I think, yeah, I mean, I've used the story as part of a PowerPoint presentation that I've shared in schools. I was asked to kind of do to be part of a careers day at a school. So funny, soon after I joined the library. And I had been asked before and I committed to it. And then I joined the library and I said to them, "Oh, I have got to go to this school because I committed before I said yes to you guys." And they were like, yeah, that's fine. And then one day talking to a colleague at the library, she said, "Oh, so I hear you're going to be in my daughter's school." I was like, "What?" It was her daughter was at the school that I was going to. So yeah, and I kind of tell that story and I kind of say, you know, there are times when friends, really good friends, can see in us what we do not see in ourselves, can see the kind of treasures, can see the potential, and all of those things. And it doesn't matter at whatever age. I think it's important that we kind of own that, and it's important to kind of share that. And I shared it more recently with some youngsters and said to them, so in that way, I would say, choose your friends, be really choosy when you're choosing the people that you call friends to be around you and in your life.
I agree. So did you need to have formal training as a curator for this position?
No, I didn't. It was so funny because they kind of said, you can call and have an informal chat about the role, and I did. And I remember Joanna saying to me, "Oh my God, Nicole, please at least show off this one time, tell them, Nicole, Rochelle, tell them all the things that you've done and so on and so on." And I said, "I don't, because you don't remember. I don't know if this is the same with you, sis. You do all kinds of things, but you don't remember. Sometimes people have to say, 'Oh yeah, I saw you when you spoke at so and so.' And they, 'Oh yeah, I did that.' But I don't really keep that in my head." So she said, "You know what? Pull up your CV." And so that's what I did. I pulled up my CV and I had it kind of there while I was on the phone. So every so often I looked at the CV and said, "Oh yeah, and another thing," during the informal chat. So no, you didn't have to have training as a curator. But I had, of course, a really strong background in working with archives because of the work that I had done. I had worked for 9 years at the George Padmore Institute, which is an archive institute, which again was set up. It sits right above New Beacon Books. It was born out of New Beacon Books. It came out, if you like, of New Beacon Books. And it was started again by John LaRose, by Gus John. Gus John was one of the co-founders and sort of founding trustees, for many years and so on. So it was John and Gus and other comrades and Sarah White, John's partner. And, so I had all of that experience, and you're working alongside with the archivist at the George Padmore Institute. We call it the GPI for short. And I had a lot of my background, my academic background is in Caribbean studies. My first degree was a combined honors degree in Caribbean studies and English, and my master's is in post-colonial cultures. Is there ever a thing as post-colonial? But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. So that those things helped me in good stead, and I've had a lot of, obviously as a teacher, but also as a kind of freelance educator, consultative educator, a lot of outreach experience and so on. So all of those things, talking to you now, just kind of thinking, I've sat in conversation innumerable times now, and it's always been good, that practice of sitting with writers, so whether it's at a book fair or sitting at an event in New Beacon and sort of sitting in public conversation with writers. All of those things were brought to bear, I think, in what helped them make the decision that it was me. And there had been someone looking after the Caribbean collections as they are before, but there had never been a post designated to the Caribbean, to a curator for the Caribbean collections.
Let me ask you this question, and then I'll let you respond. We go to break. And when we come back, we'll focus more in depth about your day-to-day at the British Library. But when you were at the George Padmore Institute, what did you do there most days?
So I was part-time again, but so most days, because initially I started off as just kind of like doing admin and so on. And then I think Sarah White, the late Sarah White, kind of realized that she knew I had teaching experience. She knew when I was teaching in secondary school. But I think she realized that I had, my forte really lies in really kind of communicating and outreach and that kind of thing. So I became almost like the kind of publicity and outreach person at the George Padmore Institute. So really kind of dealing with, responding to requests from visitors, but the archivists would do that as well, to researchers, and kind of working with the archivist and with Sarah White and sometimes with the trustees to plan sort of public engagement events that the GPI really used to have a lot of, and a lot of the time they were kind of in collaboration with downstairs with New Beacon Books. So you'd find, you'd get invited to things the George Padmore Institute and New Beacon Books invite you to, so lots of outreach events and working with other organizations, collaborating with other organizations. I think like the major, and it was a great privilege for me to have written the narrative for and worked on as sort of co-curating an exhibition that we did on John La Rose, on the life of John La Rose. And that was great in 2015. And then some years later, a book on the exhibition came out, which is still selling really well.
I have to get that book. His son, Michael La Rose. No,
that's right. 3 sons, but Michael is definitely the first, and he's one of the directors of New Beacon Books.
Yes, I'm a good brother. Good thanks. When I take the first break, I know you're the power work time. But be another about maybe 15 minutes. But when we come back, I want to dedicate the bulk of that 15 minutes to what you do at the British Library. And the primary reason why I bring Nicole on today, because she deals with the Caribbean collections. I don't know how much representation Belize having in the Caribbean collections, but we'll talk about it after this break. Stay tuned. Good time.
All right. Hello. Okay.
Welcome back to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for this morning, Friday, January 17th, 2025. Remember, forget on our Mandela newspaper, we have as our guest this morning Nicole Rochelle Moore, who's a writer, educator, and curator of Caribbean collections at the British Library. Nicole, what is the Caribbean collections at the British Library?
Okay, that's a great question. So the Caribbean collections really kind of span the library, you know, in different departments. So there are maps, for instance, in you've got a curator for maps, okay, and there would be among the thousands, if not millions of maps, there would be loads of Caribbean maps, and there are. You've got manuscripts, you've got sort of like really old manuscripts, and some of them would be dealing with the Caribbean and so on. Those aspects of the collections are not what I'm responsible for. What I'm responsible for with the Caribbean collections are what are called more contemporary. So this is post 1850 and anything printed or published in the Caribbean post 1850, that throughout the Caribbean. So we're talking all the language spheres of the Caribbean. Those come under my remit, my responsibility. Yeah, when we talk about the collection. So you're talking books, you're talking journals, you're talking pamphlets. But as I say, across the board in the library, you could also be talking newspapers, but there is a curator who deals, or curators who deal with newspapers. But you could be talking newspapers, you could be talking maps, you could be talking manuscripts, you could also be talking items that fall within the philatelic. So we're talking stamps and currency. Yeah, so there is also a philatelic curator. And there are lots and lots of Caribbean items within that particular set of collections, but they don't come under my remit. So as I say, my remit is post 1850, anything printed or published in the Caribbean.
How go, because that's a lot.
It's a lot. So remember, when you look at the ads for the British Library, you will see they say something like over 170 million. But I mean that wording was done some years ago. Curators are always collecting. There's been a kind of stay on that because of the cyber attack, which everybody knows about. The British Library was under a cyber attack in 2023. And so acquiring collection items and material wasn't possible. That started again for curators in November. So what I'm saying is 170 million, it's way more than that now, you know. But yeah, there are millions.
What part do you keep there? Like, what are the size of the British Library?
Right, good question. I'm the worst one for measurement and space, but I would say, and this is quite true, that the British Library, actually, there is another site. So you've got the London, what they call it just referred to as the St. Pancras site, but you've got another site. You've got a site in Yorkshire, in a place called Boston Spa. And I've not yet made a visit to Boston Spa, but that's down on everybody's kind of to-do list in the team that I'm in, and I'd like to mention the team in a bit. But in Boston Spa, apparently it has to be seen to be believed, and that's where a lot of those millions of items are kept. I mean, quite a lot are kept in the St. Pancras, the London site, but millions up in Yorkshire.
So, like the Caribbean collections would have like most of it is hard copy that you have, or is it electronically?
Yeah, there is digital. There is online Caribbean material as well. Unfortunately, because of the cyber attack, we are not able to access digital resources still. I mean, the ramifications are ongoing, but you know, a lot of work is being done to remedy things. And so some things have been remedied, but other things, you know, are being remedied. And so the waiting is the waiting. You just have to.
So who and how do you vet, like Belize, people that publish, even though that people like say, no, I gotta read book no more. I'm like, why I think they still make book and sell book? And because it does, as many people don't go to the library as we did in the 70s because of the internet. But how would you know which books in Belize that the library would want a copy of? How do you make that choice?
So the actual curating, the actual curatorial process in terms of selection. So curators would be dealing with vendors in different parts of the world. Yes. So you deal with vendors, and those vendors would send lists of material. And that's where, you know, the actual, if you're thinking of curating as kind of putting things together or selecting things, that's where it really comes into its own. Because when curators get the catalogs, when they get those lists, if you like, from the vendors, then they go through, you know, sort of methodically and choose. One of the things that a curator has to be mindful of is that the British Library does not deal in duplicates. So a couple of things. The British Library does not deal in duplicates, in duplicate copies, unless it's a revised edition of something that the library already has, and the revised edition then has extra information, something is different in some way about this edition. You understand? And the other thing is that the library will not accept, let's say you came to me, sis, with a copy of a book that was printed in Belize, you know, quite a long time ago. Let's say, I don't know, even like in, let's say the year 1915, and it was printed in Belize somehow. And you came to me and you said, you know, would you take this as a donation? Because that's another way, like curators have budgets and buy things in, but you also acquire items through donation as well, and also from publishers through what is understood as a legal deposit. Yeah. But yeah, if you came to me, let's say with a book like this, and you said it's the only one, they only actually printed one, it's the only one, the library is not able to accept one-offs, because it is seen as unethical to kind of have something that, you know, like the host country, if you like, the country of origin, they just don't have it because it's the only one, and the library ends up with the only one. So the library doesn't accept. Yeah.
No, I want to in the Caribbean collections, we want to get for Belize, I must say a Conco section. It just surprised me, I tell me so, no galata thing. What does the Belize section of the Caribbean collections look like at the British Library?
Because you would find, I mean, I remember us having a conversation, I think an early conversation where I was asking you about publishing in Belize. So imagine, so there could be, for instance, somebody could write, there would be numerous books on Belize, but they may not have been published in Belize or printed anywhere else, published or printed anywhere else in the Caribbean, let's say, yeah? If they were published or printed, let's say by a university press in the States, then I would kind of like alert my North American curatorial colleague who sits in my department. So the department that the Americas, curators for the Americas and for Oceania, and by Oceania, in case there are viewers or listeners who do not know, the Oceania collections would be those coming out of like Pacific Islands and Australasia and those areas. So that group of us, we sit within a team known as the Eccles Institute for the Americas and Oceania, and it is within the library and part of the library. But yeah, it's like our own little team. So if, let's say, as I was saying, I saw a book on Belize or a number of items about Belize, really interesting items, but they were not printed or published in Belize or anywhere else in the Caribbean, but they were published, let's say, by a university in the States, I'd be alerting my North American curatorial colleague and saying, ooh, can you put this on your list to purchase next time you're putting through. Do you see how it works a little bit? Are you getting a little gist of how it works?
Yes, yes. How do you get a vendor? How does someone becomes a vendor? Like let's say, like, I don't know if they have any vendors from Belize that would be your link. Like, how do you identify vendors for a country?
So I have to say, I have to admit that I came into the role and those vendors were there already. So I'm not sure, that would be another department, I would imagine, kind of vetting who these vendors are and how they work. I mean, I have one colleague who, for the region that they look after, they have maybe about 19 vendors. And that comes with its own joys, but also its own challenges, I would imagine. I would say I deal with maybe about 3 particular vendors. I deal with one vendor who is based in Uruguay, but actually most all of the Cuban items that I get are through this vendor, because they kind of, if you like, the vendor landscape maybe is a bit patchy with Cuba, even though he gets a lot of stuff from Casa de las Americas and so on. And so I work with this one vendor. And because he's in Uruguay, he kind of deals with other, there are other titles from other regions, and so he kind of deals with different curators. And then a couple of other vendors. There's a big one, and some people would know it. A big vendor we deal with called ProQuest, and then another vendor, Libros de Bolavento, and they're great. Really quite. Yeah, so I get a lot of English language Caribbean titles, and a lot of Spanish as well as French titles as well. And you can also, as a curator, of course, you have the vendors, but then there can be these one-off, like independents, and you do like maybe, not necessarily regular purchases.
So do you have vendors for Belize right now?
No, I don't have a vendor. I don't have vendors for Belize. So Libros de Bolavento, so they would be like on the lookout for me if I kind of say, yeah, I'm kind of looking at these, Belize and Saint Martin, formerly, well, I mean, they're probably still Dutch speaking, and for some people, Saint Martin and so on. They then are they're on the kind of lookout, and they go to all of those big kind of fairs that they go to, where they then meet perhaps with some independents and so on. So tell me again about. I know you're the interviewer, but I'm just asking. Tell me again about the publishing houses in Belize.
I was just about to ask you, like, how do we get in contact with whoever the vendor is, or can someone become a certified vendor in Belize for publishing house, or can publishing house be vendors? I would like to be a vendor if I can be a vendor, but like Amandala, we have a newspaper, but Amandala has produced books, primarily books written by Evan X. Hyde, who is one of the original members of United Black Association for Development, as well as you still have living members like Sister Nzinga, Sister Penny, Sister Elma, Rufus X, Brother Charles X, and so that's one. And then you have Cubola Production is a major one out west. They've published a number of books. They have a whole collection that focuses on like historical and cultural books in Belize. I think the Angelus Press, they print as well. So like those are 3 in-house in Belize. If there are others, I am not familiar with them, but those, I think Imagination Factory may do some publication as well. Those are the ones that I'm familiar with.
All of these names that you're calling, these and printed and published in Belize?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I it's a conversation that we can have later on, and then I can ask some questions.
Almost
when I'm in the office as well. Yeah, most
definitely. Before I make you go, is there anything? No, before I ask you that question, What do you find challenging about the work you do?
It's a two-sided coin, as coins usually are, because what could be challenging is also part of what makes a job really interesting. What I described before, when curators are sitting with those lists of titles and going through and, kind of, because you have to do research, you research the catalog to make sure that the book isn't there already. You're doing research about the book itself and so on, and about the author. And so all of that, that's a part of the role that I absolutely love. And that is the nerd in me, and the kind of, in a way, as sociable as I am, that's the loner in me. I really like to take my time and sit and do that selection. But what is challenging is also what makes the job really interesting, which is it is a multifarious role. What I've just described is a kind of, that's almost like the axiomatic aspect of the role. But then you're meeting with researchers, you're meeting with writers, you're meeting with, external kind of sometimes wannabe collaborators, you're meeting all of the time. And so it always feels as though there's not enough time. You're sometimes consulting on, you're being consulted about exhibitions and so on, and it just sometimes feels as though there is no time. That's kind of like the challenge. And usually you're kind of asked, for your expertise on things. Recently, I did a film, was filmed talking about Andrea Levy, and it was for the learning team at the library, and that was great. I mean, I think it's great that students are gonna hopefully get something out of a film, and it isn't just me. There are other contributors to the film, so it's multifarious, and there isn't just one thing. And I really enjoy that aspect. I enjoy that about the role, but it means that you always feel as though there isn't a lot of time, and that when you're asked for things, the turnaround sometimes can be a bit short. But yeah, but it is all good. It's a very stimulating role.
With a team, who's the team that you work with?
Right, so the team. So I'm part of, as I said before, the Eccles Institute for the Americas and Oceania. And so there are about 11-12 of us. We're expecting one more team member, and quite new. I mean, the Eccles Center has been there since 1991 or so, part of the British Library, but it now has become the Eccles Institute, and that only happened less than a year ago. And so what happened was curators, America's curators, and the Oceania curator, and so on, all of us were part of another team, another department, and so there was that kind of change and reconfiguration. And because we'd really been doing work sometimes anyway with the Eccles Center, it kind of felt, and we share the same office and so on, so it kind of felt like, you're living together, and then you decide, okay, let's get married and make it official. So it's officially the Eccles Institute, and it's a great team of people. Really kind of progressive and flexible, and kind of up for challenges, and doing things a little differently, and
Last question. Is there anything I didn't ask you that is important for listeners, viewers, and those streaming online to know about the Caribbean collections at the British Library?
One of the things, there's so many things, but one of the things that I will say is that please think of the Caribbean collections. You're in Belize and I'm here in London, but please think of the Caribbean collections as your collections. You can go on the BL, people can check the BL catalog and see, but and there are some online resources. I'm so sorry that right now it's difficult, but usually, because of the cyber attack, there are some online resources that are available for people to just access. But of course, as you would know, sis, one has to have the free reader pass and so on here in the UK to to be able to access all of those collections. But for any Belizeans who are planning a trip to the UK and coming into London, please come to the British Library, and you can get your free reader pass, and it will be there for 3 years until you're ready to renew it. It lasts for 3 years until renewal, and it just means that you give yourself access to all of the collections while you're in the UK. And also when you leave and you go back to Belize, you will have access to, once they're up and running again, when they're up and running again, the online resources.
Is there a cost to it?
No. The Reader Pass is a free thing, and that's been one of the things that I have been proselytizing about since I have started there. And my older son recently said to me, "That's a result, Mum. That's something you can put on a CV. You got loads of people since you've been working there to sign up and get their free Reader Pass." He's quite right. I haven't kept a tally, but it's been a lot.
That's
a
good.
lot of people. I just kind of, I just said, "Do you have a Reader Pass?" "No." You can get one. And so you only ever need 2 forms of ID, one address ID, one photo ID. And if you have one piece of ID that kind of ticks both those boxes, and then you just go in and you get your Reader Pass. And you can start on the very day you get it. Once you come into the library, on the very day you get it, you can start accessing. And it means you have access to the reading rooms, of course.
Oh, okay, this is what you just said, the last one, and then we're going after this. I know you like Carnival. Please tell me why you like Carnival so much.
Oh God, sis, I don't even listen to me. I just only this week told like one of my close cousins, that's my Carnival chick. And I just said to her, "I don't know that I'm gonna be home for Carnival this year.
What?
I'm not And she's like, "You know what? Do you know what? I am not." She said, "I'm just gonna wait until maybe if you're telling me that mid-February or early 20s in February." But I really don't know that I can, and I can't tell you why I love Carnival so much. Somebody asked me in an interview, a kind of live thing last year, "What is Carnival to you in one word?" And I said, "Carnival is life." Just looked at me. I've been listening this morning. I've been listening to soca. Of course. I want to be home. I really I can feel myself getting really sad at the thought that I may not be there. I cannot describe it. Have you been to Trinidad Carnival?
No.
Oh, when you go, then you wouldn't ask me this question ever again. You wouldn't ask me this question ever again.
I have I've never been to Trinidad, but I've always dreamed about going to the Carnival. Maybe
oh my God. It's different. And there's so many things that we can pick it apart in so many ways. But oh my gosh, the joy of it. I can't begin to tell you. And I was explaining to some friends in London here that on Carnival Tuesday, by about 3:00 in the afternoon, people who really love it in the way, by about 3:00 in the afternoon, you're still having a good time. The sun's still hot. You're doing your thing, but you start to feel a little sad because you know it's going to come to an end. You know it's going to finish, and you have what we call in Trinbago Carnival Tabanca. Tabanca is love sickness, right? And your heart sick, and so Carnival Tabanca is a real thing. It's a real thing, sis.
Respect. Sis, thanks so much for your time. I know I'm being a stranger to WB. Enjoy the rest of your day. Give our greetings to the people at the British Library.
Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. All the work that you're doing in Belize and outside of Belize, and thank you. Just keep it up, sis.
Big thanks, sis Nicole Rochelle Moore, writer, educator, curator of Caribbean collections at the British Library. Break time.
In Belize, we've
back to Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes for this morning, Friday, January 17th, 2025. Phone lines are open, 280-5848. On a call and talk about anything you want to talk about. It don't have to be one conversation that we had already. So just now we had Sister Nicole Rochelle Moore, writer, educator, curator of Caribbean collections at the British Library. Really to be intentional for make we learn more. Just like how I like when I Colleen and I learn from you know. I really, really appreciate learning, and I could give thanks to my parents specifically and my extended family members and community for nurturing me as a lifelong learner. And I learn just for the joy of it. Like, I enjoy learning. One of the things where I think we as adults need to do more than I think we need to play more, just for the fun of it. Like, you know, when last run a race, or like one of my adult plays that I just love is to play Uno and to play Scrabble. But sometimes I get a little dirty attitude, so I have to work for. I really have to talk to myself when I play. I say, yeah, it's just for fun. It no matter if you lose the game. You're there with people you care for. You have to build your vocabulary. You have to be more observant. Like, you know, like growing up as a child, I was a terrible loser. Like, I was a terrible loser at everything. I want to win everything, which is not possible in life. I'm there yesterday. I'm there with my niece and my grandniece. And she was sharing an experience she had in a primary school in Belize yesterday. And one of the things I feel that, based on my lived experience, like, you know, as a child with two parents and then a single parent and siblings, observing people in the community that Belize, living in the United States for over 18 years, having a child in the United States, raising that child. One of the things, to go back to what the first caller may say, is that one lot of and I feel that we not do it because we never learn it. We never see nobody to model it, and so we don't know. It's very important that we learn this as adults and accept it, and then could then share it in our kind way, is that you won't get disappointed in a life. You won't get frustrated in a life. People want tired you. Disappointment, the part of life. You won't have low moments, and sometimes the moments they seem to last long, or like they come back to back and you get to an ease. No say good times won't come again. But to be prepared that you'll have tough times in a life. And that we need to learn not only that we have tough times, but then how do we respond to the tough times? I mean, for so long I hear in a life, it no matter what happened to you in a life, how you respond to it, but it takes long for I really get what that means. Like, seriously. So one of the things I know I struggled with, and still do, and I think the part of human nature, is the stories we tell ourselves. We could put head and tail for a story, and act like the head and tail we put for a story that real, and we start to think and believe and act, and then tell nothing but a story that I really know. Not, sort of pay attention to the things we think, to the people we have wrong way, for how the people we have wrong way view the world or their experiences. And so it's very important, if I may know I may have this, I mean, it's just pop up in my mind just now. We have one more break at, I think at 10 to 9. So if you know what, call in, the number is 280-5848. 280-5848. Is that how we tell one story is absolutely important. It doesn't mean that the truth of what happened changed. It's just how we tell the story. So for example, my family, my parents separated when I was, I think maybe 14, 15, I think. And at the time, I was going to St. Catherine's Academy, and I repeated first form, and the first time I had a repeat in my life. That was hard for me. I mean, the first time I got into a Catholic school, it was a traumatic experience. And so I had to deal with that. I'm a young person going through puberty, how I look, I had to deal with that. And then my family separated, and we come from a middle-class family, used to a certain level of lifestyle, stay-at-home mom. There's a lot happening. And so there was nobody to prepare me for this. I mean, I'm sure nobody would prepare my parents for it when they were young and they get married and they think they're together forever, like a lot of people, right? And then life happens. And so going through that process and not really have no support system, I had to try and make sense of life. And so I tell myself one lot of stories just for navigate that moment. Now, in the moment, I realized that I had to tell myself stories, you know, that after I lived that period of my life, and when I started to go through knowledge of self, and I had to look back to how at that point, how I became the person I was at that point, that then I realized I'm going to tell myself a lot of stories. And because of the stories then when I tell myself, it influenced how I experience the world, how I experience people, the choices I made or didn't make, and what happened to my life during that period. So the story I tell myself was this was all my dad's fault because my dad did X, Y, Z that changed the family dynamic, and had a lot of resentment towards my father for it. I had a lot of resentment towards the other families that he created within the marriage. And that is my story. Caller, thanks for calling. Talk to me.
Yes, greetings.
Yes.
Sister YaYa. Maybe just calling for a couple things out of your context of your topic, but I guess you got to give me a break to express myself about it.
You have a few minutes because we're going to break in about 6 minutes.
Well, right away. The first one, the Prime Minister announces about the NHI clinics all over the country. I just wish to know from somebody who know about it, if that includes the BCBI, because I have been having trouble trying to get assistance. I'm 64. I'm blind too. Assistance from them as in NHI, and they keep telling me that they are private and they don't do that and this and that, but I don't believe that. I believe they're not telling me the truth. Next one. We are concerned in Belize and other countries, neighbor countries throughout Latin America and maybe parts of the Caribbean about the deportees. But the sad part to me is that everyone I hear in all the international news I listen to, the only thing their main concern is the remittances will stop. I mean, that is sad. You love your people or you love the remittance? What you love? One love, respect.
Okay, thanks for the call. All right, brother, make some valid points. Make a hurry up and wrap this up so if somebody call, or I could finish my thought before we finish this morning show. And then having a mom who was a born-again Christian at a young age, we grew up in a church, like from I know myself to at least age 18, the church T dinner T, evangelical church. Everything you could think about, I church out. We family church out. My father wasn't involved in that life. My mom and her 4 daughters, church out. So then that very much influenced how I did think, how I experienced the world. Then as you grow up and you learn more about yourself, I'm like, you know, I tell myself a whole lot of stories where they're never true. At no point did I step back and look objectively at my parents as human beings first, and parents second, with flaws, 2 of them, that then come from families that were not intact nuclear families. Neither of them had parents who were aware of themselves as human beings, healthy. Most of them don't come from that. Most of we people don't come from that. So, and that influenced them as young people then become adults and start their families. And to say that they're not just human beings like everybody else. Now, when I became a parent especially, I had more empathy for my parents and the choices they made when time they made to raise me as a young family. And then in that kind of self-reflection, I realized, man. And then as I got older and I started to have more frank conversation with my parents, and they weren't always easy conversations, and they're not conversations where parents welcome because that's not a norm culturally that believes. Especially with my mom, who I had a different relationship than I did with my dad. I built the relationship I have with my dad now as an adult because I think he never liked me. And then I be closer with my mom. So and then she has a really good memory, and she introduced me a lot to community living. And so in getting to know them as adults, and on reflection, I said, there were a bunch of things I was wrong about. Like, dead wrong, like how I remember something, or I needed clarity on it, and how that influenced me as a person. And then I don't know, even though I have good intentions, I still make some of the same mistakes raising me one belly pin. I'm saying all that to say to Belizean people that a part of transparency and accountability, it's difficult for you to hold anybody accountable if you know to hold yourself accountable. If you know look in the mirror and be honest with who you are, with no judgment. Just be real, be authentic. And if you've never, other than your relationship with a creator, if that is your choice to accept that there is one, the relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you will ever have in a life. Ever, other than the creator. So, it's difficult for you to hold anybody accountable on any level, have any boundaries, if you not do that with your own self, because you can't give where you not live. And so I really encourage Belizeans for be true to yourself. And whatever that is, accept it. We make wrong choices. We do things that harm other people. Work through that, trying to repeat it. Forgive yourself. Be a better human being with every breath you take. The brother Carl just now asked about NHI and if vision is a part of the national health insurance. I don't know. I've never heard it to be. He said that I wouldn't tell him, but he not believe. But if anybody know if BCVI is a part of NHI, please call or make somebody know. The number is 280-5848. But it's break time. It's our last break of the morning. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
When you bank your way, it's amazing how much time you have.
Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. The time for shut the shop, but I can't take any more calls. I know we have to go through one process before we actually get to shut the shop time. I want to strongly encourage Belizeans to attend the Zoom community meeting tomorrow morning from 10 to 11. UBAD Educational Foundation and Belize Federation of Fishers, they have the first monthly Zoom community meeting for 2025. So that means you'll have 11 more after this, creator willing. And we're being intentional for bring information, knowledge, have meaningful conversations with Belizeans, specifically fisher folks and their families. So fisher folks and their families, this on a space, this on a time, on a need to attend these community conversations by Zoom and actively participate. The state never did this for Belizeans or for fisher folks and their families. That's what the paper said they do. But when you go up and ground, you talk to the fisher folks and their families, nothing no go so. So we to be intentional in creating this space. Fisher folks and their families, knock on a boat, pull their skirt tail, pull their shirt sleeve and say, listen, tomorrow morning, January 18, 2025, from 10 to 11, there's this very important conversation that they need to be a part of. You could join by Zoom. The meeting ID and passcode, I don't know if you're helpful, I give it out, but the meeting ID is 869-4546-7889. Meeting ID for tomorrow's Zoom community meeting, 869-4546-7889. The passcode is 991980. The passcode is 991980. Thanks, Alexei. Now, shut the shop time. But before we go, I have to give thanks for Kim and Keller Grab and Go. Thank you, though. They feed me the morning and like a good full belly for start out WUB. Thanks, brother, for bringing me food for me again this morning. The security guards, when I came in, it was Lloyd Lewis. Now it's Shane Flowers. Big thanks, brothers, at the gate. Remember forgetting our Mandela newspaper. I got mine. How yesterday I want to forget Cliff. The glue wrong here. I feel terrible. Yesterday I forget to thank Cliff for the work we do. So I know I forget today. Cliff Lewis, thank you, Chief Engineer here at XTV. Alexa Belial is the Master Chief Operator. I want to sit in a march around the studio. I tell you, XTV family is in it to win it for the Belize Diabetes Association 1 million steps from January 2nd to April 16th, which is Holy Thursday 2025. Let's get moving, Belizeans. Downstairs on the second floor, my bestie, Tony G, that is selected upstairs today, that a radio personality, that a engineer. We want to thank absolutely everybody. We're calling today. We talk about a bunch of stuff. Self-accountability, the destruction, the intentional systemic destruction of the African racialized as black people, families. We talk about Belize Federation of Fishers. We had the guests from Nicole Rochelle Moore, writer, educator, curator of Caribbean collections at the British Library. The brother, Colleen, on top about his sister, we have mental illness and then they holler up for somebody, help that sister as quick as possible. Talk about his sellout with natural resources like with waters based on the Blue Bond, exchanging and debt for nature. Brother Carl asked about the NHI clinics in the country, if vision the part of that process like BCVI. So when people call in and share, and you could change the topic at any time, it makes we as a community healthier. We feel connected. We invest in one another joys and pains. So we want to say thanks to absolutely everybody. We're calling, we're live stream, we're listening on radio, we're buy a Mandela newspaper. We might never call in, but tune in anyways. They went out a road where only Belizean people could make you feel good. Like yesterday, I had on, I wouldn't have buy one dress like what I had on yesterday because I just wouldn't. But my beloved sister in Placencia, Jalima, I call her my shopper now. That was one of my gifts for the Kwanzaa. And it was popping. But yesterday I made a walk because I had to get my steps in and walk from Albert Street to the end of Coney Drive. And I tell you, Belizean people can make you feel good. The thing when they holler and tell me out the road, I mean, you actually had a security guard. No, you know, man could got lyrics sometimes. One look for me and tell me I look 21. Really? What? Anyways, that's how it goes. I just love the Belizean public. Like, nothing but love for Belizean people. Really, really appreciate and value. You know, we couldn't do this without the support of Belizean people. Those at home and those abroad. And yesterday, and I said this and then I'm going, the number of people will say, I never know Belize had coyote. You should have a pot liquor. Like people, Belizean Americans, Belizeans, like a particular sister who lives in Jamaica, like cannot, like so much people. So big respect to my nephew, Khalid Usher, the coyote brother. I enjoy learning. It's beautiful. And enjoy the rest of the day. And have one safe rest of the day and weekend. Remember 10 to 11 tomorrow, BFF New Year, Belize Blue Bond Awareness Campaign here at XTV. Until Monday morning when we should be joined by our brother Most High. Remember say, only the people are safe people.
Belize, we gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling. WB. Be yourself, see yourself. This is the show of people. Belize our hopes so to needless reason. Nobody feel left out is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes. WB. And all the things that will happen like blue skies. I love it make people get victimized. Let's work together for better.